in the SEC championship game. So those
I mean, Clemson has a pretty much clear path.
Clemson has
The winner,
Clemson has, I believe, South Carolina, which is their natural rival, which I guess is at the end of the year. South Carolina, I think, was ranked at some point, but they're kind of tailed off a little bit. And then they're playing Pitt in the ACC championship game. So chances are, it seems to me that Alabama's got
Pitt derailed Miami last year.
Pitt derailed Miami.
So who knows?
Notre Dame basically has clear sailing. I don't think they're going to lose to USC.
And I don't think Clemson. Okay, so yeah, so clear.
And then Michigan has
Northwestern.
They have Ohio State still,
And then Northwestern waiting.
which is a blood feud with Ohio
Right.
State.
Right.
I mean, Ohio State would like to do nothing better than to knock them off. And then I think if Ohio State knocks off Michigan, then I think Ohio State goes to the Big Ten championship
and
game
there's a
against
whole
North.
different And then they broad jump 5 teams.
Yeah. So it's still a little bit of flux. Yeah, it's still. I mean, really
Look, when you're only taking 4, it's always gonna be 9 in the mix at this particular point. So this year is true to form. So
I mean, could Alabama get derailed by Georgia?
I
don't
don't know.
Chances are no.
I saw a fictitious line a couple of weeks ago that they had Alabama, the Bills. They had what do we say? 28.5.
Yeah.
28.5. Somebody put a line up.
I haven't watched a lot of Notre Dame this year, but it seems to me that they're going to get skunked in the playoffs. I don't think they're up to par with those other 3 teams that are going to be in.
Yeah, we should try to get somebody on to talk about that maybe next week
Yeah.
or 2 weeks from now. So, but listen, if you want to call in, 862-246-7322, 862-246-7322, and at 10 o'clock we have Doug Gladstone and Mark Weiss calling in. These are 2 guys that reached out to us. Doug is an author, and Doug's whole mission is about these players in Major League Baseball. There was like a window of players, which he'll get into, that did not qualify for a pension. And he wrote this book called A Bitter Cup of Coffee, which is obviously a play on a cup of coffee, which is a short stint in Major League Baseball. And I don't know, he's got like 875 players on this list. So they're big baseball guys. Obviously, I wanted to do it 2 weeks ago, but we got screwed up. It would have been great to kind of close out the baseball season with these 2 guys. But we're men of our word, and we said, hey, we want to have you guys on. So we'll do it today. So that's 862-246-7322 if you want to chime in before that. Jerry Rice going after Eli, Tony. What do you think? Where are you on this whole Eli Hall of Famer thing? All right, let's hash this out once and for all.
Well, let me just
I'm going to answer it in 2 ways, but go ahead.
Yeah.
You go first.
Let me first give you a little bit of context. I'll pop up some stats for you. Eli's career record
It's like 2 games over 500.
is 113 and 110. He's got a 60% completion percentage, 350 touchdowns, and 234 interceptions.
Nice. Yeah.
He has made the Pro Bowl. You want to guess?
I don't know if he's ever made the Pro Bowl.
4.
Did he? Okay.
2-time Super Bowl champion, and 2016 Walter Payton Award, which I know is an off-the-field thing, but that still goes a little bit in terms of taking a look at your resume.
It's better than getting arrested.
So he's basically a 500 quarterback in terms of his winning percentage, but does obviously have the 2 Super Bowl runs, which are somewhat magical and miraculous in terms of how they concluded and won those 2 Super Bowls. But they did beat the Patriots twice. You got to give him a little bit of credit. Do I think he's a Hall of Famer? I would say, and this may be a little bit of a cop-out, I would say 51-49, yes.
I'm going to answer it 2 ways. Here's the first way. He's going in. The second is, should he? But he's going in. Because when you think about it, I had this conversation with someone the other day. There's no comparison. And I don't mean like there's no comparison like Joe DiMaggio, there's no comparison. I mean, there really is no comp for him.
Well,
where's the comp? No, but it's really not. Where's the comp on a guy, and this actually hurts him, I think, but where's the comp on a guy that had 2, I don't want to say historic playoff runs, but playoff runs that'll be remembered forever, especially the first one. Okay? Wins the 2 Super Bowls. And then the lack of, the last 4 or 5 years has really been a losing quarterback.
Been
bad. I was trying to avoid that. Thank you. On the same team, give me the comp.
The comp?
Like Roethlisberger has 1 Super Bowl, he's won 2 Super Bowls, right?
2,
right? He beat the Seahawks and he beat, who did he beat? He beat the Cardinals the year after the first Eli Super Bowl, and then he lost to Rodgers. But then he's probably been in what? 4 AFC Championship games away from that? Without looking? Right? So Eli's a weird character. in the fact that he's never won a playoff game except those 2 Super Bowls. So does he get penalized for that? Yeah, he does. It's a very, very strange, unique resume. That's why it's a great argument. And I'm telling you, I really believe this. It's going to be a great argument for 5 years because both sides of the aisle, and there were guys who were like, he's getting in because he's a Manning, he's getting in because the ball landed on Tyree's helmet, blah, blah, blah. And then the other guys are going to say, played 15 years, great citizen, won 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and it's unprecedented not to go to a Super Bowl because of that. But to go to the Hall of Fame because of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you take away the 2 Super Bowls, he's clearly not.
You can't take. That's like saying, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you like
Yeah.
to play away from that one situation? I mean,
No, I know, you're right about that. Yeah, I mean, as a football fan, I would not be overly offended if he got into the Hall of Fame, put it that way. Because if you take a look at some of these other quarterbacks that made it to the Hall of Fame, I know Joe Namath is Joe Namath, but if you take a look at Joe Namath's career stats,
right.
they're-
Yeah, he's always the guy that people bring up.
yeah, I think he's got more interceptions than touchdowns.
Right, but I always say that I'm only 52 years old. I don't remember Joe Namath. I remember him standing on the sidelines for either the Rams or the Niners, whoever he played with at the end of his career. I remember him standing on the sidelines on a Monday Night Football game. He had the bad knees. I barely remember him playing for the Jets. I certainly don't remember the Super Bowl. You can make the argument Joe Namath is in the Hall of Fame because he helped facilitate the merger. I mean, he was a dynamic player.
That too.
Any guy who's getting photographed on the cover of a magazine with that white rug, hanging out in Bachelor 3 or whatever the name of that club was. I mean, he was just a dynamic player.
And he kind of, I'm not going to say invented, but the forward pass, he kind of
I mean, we weren't there, but anybody who's ever watched him play, like my father's a raging Giant fan, but he loved Namath, watching Namath in the AFL.
I thought the comp was Jim Plunkett, but I just plugged
I don't
up
think
his
it
numbers.
is.
He's
I don't
72
think
and
it is.
72 in the regular season.
He doesn't have the body of work.
He's got more interceptions.
He was a
than
backup
touchdowns.
forever, right, with the Patriots. He's got the Heisman. You said it before when we started yapping about this off air.
If it was like the like the basketball Hall of Fame, which takes a composite of your college career and your pro career, then I would say Plunkett would have a better argument because he's got a Heisman.
Correct.
But if you take a look at it just in terms of his pro career, he does have the 2 Super Bowls, but his resume besides that is basically thin.
To me, and I say this all the time about Eli, you're on a bar stool with 4 raging Giant fans, and they're like, we just traded for Eli Manning. Okay, what are we going to get out of it? He's going to be here 15 years. Somebody in a crystal ball just popped out and said he's going to be here 15 plus years. Okay, what are we going to get out of it? You're going to get 2 Super Bowls. And I can't tell you what the other 13 years are going to look at. What do? Do you sign on? Yes or no?
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, of course you
That's
do.
the answer.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
I mean, you
But
gotta
that's
sign.
the answer. That's where it becomes the slam dunk.
Yeah, I mean, he
You
has,
solidify your place in Canton when you get that second Super Bowl
Yes.
as a quarterback.
he has not aged well compared to the other 2 quarterbacks who got drafted in his class. Rivers, who's having arguably an MVP year,
Correct.
and Roethlisberger, who keeps putting up numbers.
Correct.
So
And
you
if the
tell me-
4 of them go to a golf outing in 7 years and they're all retired for 5, Eli's going to get introduced as the 2-time MVP Super Bowl champion, and Rivers is going to get introduced as a guy who was 35 games over 500.
Yeah. Does Rivers get into the Hall of Fame?
I'm going to say
Roethlisberger,
yes.
is
I think
yes.
that whole class is going.
Roethlisberger
They came in as a hot
yeah.
class, and I don't understand why Phillip Rivers wouldn't get in. I mean, if you're just looking at the numbers, he just pumps them out every year.
He's having a great year.
All different types of players. How many different coaches? He's never really had a bad year. Had some great years early, right? They had those few games where they should have beat the Patriots in the playoffs. They didn't. But I mean, he's played on some great teams at the end of LT's run there before he went to the Jets. Yeah, I love Phillip Rivers. I love watching Phillip Rivers. I can't understand why Phillip Rivers won the Hall of Fame.
Well, let's talk about the
There's
rest.
the NFL is so loaded with dynasties that there's so many players in the Hall of Fame that never win a Super Bowl. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Right? In our lifetime,
That's a good point.
this league is chock full of dynasties. You think about the amount of teams that haven't won a Super Bowl
Yeah,
in
you're
our
right.
lifetime.
Yeah. No, they're definitely.
There's tons of. I mean, Walter Payton would have gone. Well, I mean, I'm not comparing Walter Payton to Phillip Rivers, but he was a shoe in Hall of Fame before he won a Super Bowl, and he was an add-on to that Super Bowl by the time.
He was a passenger.
He was right. He was a role player at that point.
Well, where are you on Eli in terms of the rest of this year? Are you done with Eli?
I mean, am I done with Eli in terms of Fisher Cup bait?
Yeah.
I would say that they're going to make a move. Yeah, I don't know how you don't. I don't know how you come back with a quarterback that age.
You want to
With
see
that
another
caliber.
quarterback take some snaps this year?
Yeah, of course.
And that's Kyle Lauletta.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's like they're playing with funny money now. I mean, they lose. I mean, the whole Odell guarantee and all that, and could they run the table and all that? And come on, it puts them at 9 and 7. I mean, I don't even know if that's enough, but I don't see it happening. The team has won what? What were they last year? 3-13.
They were 3 and
And so
13.
the team has won 5 games since the cruise in Miami. So going 4-3 would be a monumental
So you
task.
kind of come to grips with the fact that this is the
I don't know how
year
it
to
is.
move on
I
with
mean,
Eli?
I don't understand how you again. You want to talk about unprecedented?
Yeah.
This is where the whole Manning Mara marriage and the giant love affair is. Who has ever in the history of pro football, Tony, ever rebuilt a team around a 38-year-old quarterback that's a major hit to the salary cap that's going to be coming out off of 5 or 6 losing seasons?
Yeah. What do you?
So I think that the answer is kind of playing out in front of you.
Yeah. Not that Eli is looking to take advice from us, but what would you like to see Eli do at the end of the year if the Giants do release him? Would you like to see him retire or put out
Saying
somebody
something
else?
and be the third man in the booth here and get us a heck of a lot more listeners. I'm going to tell you.
We got some comments on Facebook Live.
What do you got?
So someone's saying, so are you saying that with the different quarterback, there is no chance for 2 Super Bowls over 15 years? So was Eli the difference there?
He did make a lot of big plays in those 2 Super Bowls, right?
It's a fair point.
It's kind of hard to say if you would have stuck any other quarterback in those 2 Super Bowls. There were some miraculous plays that were made that Eli made. I would say you probably aren't going to win those 2 Super Bowls if it's not for Eli.
Yeah.
I didn't get the comment. Like saying what, they should have won more?
No, just
Could
saying.
anybody have won those 2 Super Bowls with the Giants if it wasn't Eli? It's hard to
That's
say.
a tough
But
one, man. I mean, you're talking about 8 games, right?
Yeah,
They didn't have
but
a
he
bye.
did play well, and
They
he won
didn't
the
have
MVP.
they didn't have a bye in either year, right? So they had the one game at home, and then all the others were on the road. I think he had 2 interceptions in the whole run.
I mean, if you
That's a
told
tough
me,
one. Now, if you want to make the argument, well, first of all, I mean, I don't know who made the comment, but I mean, if you look at the playoff games that he's played in, right? The first game against the Panthers, I don't expect you to remember this, but the crazy Giant fan will remember. The Giants were hurt beyond belief. They like signed a linebacker that didn't even play in the NFL, and he played in the playoff game. He hadn't played in a year. I forgot who it was. Then the next year, did Eli have a good game? I think he did. They played the Eagles, and that was Barber's last game. They lost on a David Akers heartbreaking field goal. Then they won the Super Bowl. Then the next year was the year. That's when Eli had the great year. Brandon Jacobs had the great year. And then Plaxico had the night he should have stayed home and Netflixed and chilled, and instead he went to the city and literally shot himself in the foot. They came out and laid a dud against the Eagles. They didn't make the playoffs again until they won the Super Bowl, and then they made the playoffs with the Odell fiasco 3 years ago. So I guess the better argument is, should they have gone to the playoffs more times? I'm not going to take anything away from Eli from winning those Super Bowls.
he's been a little bit of a dud in the regular
I think the
season.
question should be, with all due respect to whoever put it up,
Cowboy fan.
Yeah,
Jeff.
All right, okay. So the question should be, should they have gotten more out of the 15-year run?
Listen, I mean, he's had 2 magical runs in the playoffs. Besides that, he really hasn't done much of anything in terms of playoff wins, right?
But the
Does he have
argument is going to be the Tyree thing and the catch and all that
Right.
nonsense. But that doesn't the game that he had against the Niners in the championship
Does he
game
have
was a game for the ages. The game he had against the Packers in the
Yes.
championship game was a game for the ages.
Yeah.
The game he had
No,
against the
those 2 runs he
Packers,
played well.
right? I mean, the pass to Manningham in the Super Bowl that he dropped out of a cloud into his hands
Does
going
he
out of
have
bounds.
Does he have a playoff win besides those 2 magical
He does
runs?
not have a playoff win. That's my point. He does
Yeah.
not have a playoff win. They lost at the end of regulation against the Eagles. It's the only time they were ever close.
I know you don't want me to take away the 2 Super Bowl wins, but to me, and this may be controversial, Tony Romo was a better quarterback than Eli
That's
Manning.
ridiculous.
If you take away the 2 Super Bowl wins,
We could actually get our privileges.
Take a look at the
we
numbers.
could actually get our privileges taken away for a statement like that.
numbers don't
Never
lie.
went past the divisional round. Never went past the divisional round.
If you take a look at the regular season numbers
So what? So what?
and the eye test,
So what? So what?
I don't know.
So what? Who had a better career, Montana or Aaron Rodgers? Excuse me, Marino or Aaron Rodgers?
Marino.
Really?
Yeah.
You're nuts. How?
Take a look at the numbers. You see some of the years that put up the Marino put up?
Again, we're on a bar stool.
What is Aaron-
I pick Aaron Rodgers. You
What
pick
is-
Marino. We
besides-
meet 30 years later. I go, how'd you do?
Besides screwing the Cowboys a couple times in the playoffs, what has Aaron Rodgers done since he won the Super Bowl? Nothing. Zero.
Probably nothing. But 2 great quarterbacks. One is a Super
I'm not
Bowl.
saying
One, and
Aaron
one went to
Rodgers-
the Super Bowl twice.
I don't want it to be construed that Aaron Rodgers is not a great quarterback. But if you ask me to rank the quarterbacks, and you may say, well, you're an Italian homer, I'm putting Marino ahead of Rodgers. Call me an
What do you mean Italian homer? You're not because you're from what?
Because Marino's Italian.
Marino's Italian.
Because you got your dog in Pittsburgh. I mean,
I'm gonna take the Italian over Rodgers, but Rodgers, I can't deny, his career obviously is not over. The last couple years, and this year to me, the fact that they're 4-6.
yeah, 4-5. 4-6.
4-6. Yeah.
They haven't won a game on the road.
You could blame McCarthy all you want to blame McCarthy, and I understand Rodgers has had tremendous comebacks, mostly against the Cowboys, killing them in the playoffs. And I understand maybe I have scars from that, and that's why I think he's not that good.
You also got robbed. I'll give you that.
Compared to Marino?
One of the biggest rob jobs
Yeah.
ever was
Yeah.
the Des Bryant falling down at Lambeau Field. I mean, I still watch it. I laugh so hard because I just loved it so much, but I can't believe how bad a call it was.
To me, there is no greater thrower of the ball that I've witnessed in terms of seeing than Dan Marino. Period.
That's fair.
Period.
The release, incredible.
The release, the arm, the strength. To me, there's no better thrower.
You're not going
to
to twist me. You're not going to get me to say Dan Marino wasn't a phenomenal quarterback. The guy just missed a running back forever.
Yes.
All right. The two greatest questions in sports: why they could never get Marino, a guy who could run the football, and why they could never get a guy for Patrick Ewing that could shoot beyond mid-range to kind of widen out the court for the Knicks. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
Right? Every time the Knicks got a guard, we're like, okay, if this guy could just shoot, we could widen out the court for Ewing, right? But it would be like Blackman or Greg Anthony, someone who could never shoot, and it's the same thing with Marino. The analogy is the same, and their careers are very close to the same. They both went to the finals once and came up short.
Well, Marino got to the Super Bowl in his rookie year. And people
Absolutely.
thought he was going to be there every other year, right? Don Shula and the weapons and stuff like that, and never got.
Played a great team.
Never got a snap.
Ran into an absolute buzzsaw. That might have been the best Niner team out of all of them.
I mean, how many times did he get to the championship?
That was Roger Craig. I think Roger Craig was the MVP of that game.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was Montana, was it?
I think Montana was the MVP from the Super Bowl.
Was he? Okay, you could be right. I
I had
apologize.
guessed
But that was the coming out of the Roger Craig era. That Super Bowl. That's Stanford, I think it was.
Not to talk about the off-season already now for the NFL, but what's your wish list as a Giant fan in terms of who you want to see on the center next year? Let's assume that you can't, that Herbert's going to go back to Oregon, where there's not going to be a top pick to take. You got to go sign a veteran? Like a Teddy Bridgewater? Derek Carr if he gets away?
See, that's the $64,000 question right there. If they go that way, that might be the keep Eli move. That might be the restructuring move.
I mean, when was the last time they went that way?
Right, I'd like some Giant fans to weigh in here. That's where the Giants may say we'll go another year.
They got to find their Kerry Collins type of thing? Or Kurt Warner?
Yeah, but Kerry Collins replaced 4 years of duds. I mean, Kerry Collins came in.
Brown?
No, even beyond that. Kerry Collins, if memory serves, replaced like Danny Cannell, Kent Graham.
That's right.
Tommy Maddox might even have been in that mix.
Jesse Palmer.
All good looking, all strikingly handsome men, if I may.
The Giants, it seems like are going to have to
wasn't
go
Jesse
that
Palmer
route.
on The Bachelor? Am I right?
Yes,
We got the
yeah.
right guy who played in Florida.
Exactly, good looking guy, yeah.
So Kerry Collins was like a no-brainer. And Kerry Collins had some baggage, right? Didn't he have like a little locker room blow up, and he had a little bit of racial issues, exactly. Had a little bit of a booze problem. The Giants took a flyer on him, and obviously
Kerry Collins was good for the Giants.
took him to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, Kerry Collins they ran into one of the. They ran into the 1985's Bears-like defense in the 2000 Rex Ryan, Marvin Lewis Ravens.
Could someone like Derek Carr be the Giants' Kerry
I can't
Collins?
see the Giants shedding Eli Manning for Derek Carr, but I could be wrong. But I can't see it unless you're telling me they're going to do a stopgap. But to me, would they restructure his contract and keep Eli another year? I don't know. I wish somebody would. I wish John Mara would. I wish Mara would take the calls and come on. We could really.
Restructure his deal and keep Eli on the center next year? I don't see the point in that.
I don't know.
But who knows? Maybe that's that may be the best option left at the end of the day. If they can't, if there's not a high pick to draft, Justin Herbert goes back to school, and there's nobody else who's a consensus top 5 pick at the quarterback position, and then you're left with these veterans.
Well, I'll give you a guy that's actually lining up as an Eli. I'm curious where we are on this guy, Flacco. And this goes right to your core because South Jersey, you got the Valley, and this is like,
Flacco hasn't been good for the last couple of years.
Right? They're starting to.
They're starting to
bang. Well, they're starting to bang into the same resume here. I mean, Flacco obviously. Well, Flacco's rookie year, I think, was that year that we talked about before when Eli was 10-1 when Plaxico shot himself because they chopped up the Ravens and that's when they really hit their stride. And Flacco was a rookie, right? Didn't they throw him right into the mix? Flacco was a rookie. Okay, so that was 2008. That was that next year.
Started off at Pitt and then transferred to Delaware.
Right. So he's 5 years behind Eli. He's got the one Super Bowl, one team. You know, he went to the AFC Championship game that year, and his what's his name, Lee, what's his name, dropped the ball in the corner of the end zone, right?
Lee Evans.
Right, that was the year the Giants won the second Super Bowl. They should have played the Ravens. So where are you on Flacco? Where's Flacco? Flacco retired. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Flacco's definitely not a Hall of Famer.
So you need that second Super Bowl.
Flacco's best move was when he bet on himself, won the Super Bowl, and then Baltimore had no choice but to give him a big contract, which he's under.
Wasn't he still living in his parents' house when that happened? I love that. Didn't he go to the Super Bowl? Didn't he go to the playoffs like out of his bedroom or something like that? At that point, he might have been married, but I remember he was playing in playoff games and he was sleeping in his room, a la Stephen Match, Joe.
Flacco
started a World Series game living in his childhood bed.
Flacco has severely underperformed that contract. Flacco has done what he has done partially because Baltimore's had a good defense during that run. Championship defense. And
That was Ray Lewis's last stand.
Yeah. Now, he did make a magical run, almost Eli-esque when they won the Super Bowl, because I don't think he threw an interception that whole playoff run.
Correct.
And played really, really well. And then cashed in.
They shut down Kaepernick.
Exactly. And then cashed in the big contract. After that, because he kind of bet on himself, kind of turned down the contract during the regular season. So Flacco's coming towards the end. We'll see what Lamar Jackson does today. But Eli, to me, is, we talked about it last year. I would have moved on from Eli last year and picked one of the quarterbacks. But we'll see what happens.
You're on record.
But the Giants may be in a situation where if they do decide to move on from Eli, which is the move, they may have to go sign a veteran quarterback or bring a veteran quarterback in here because there may not be a ready-made solution in the draft this year. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a great draft for quarterbacks, but you never know.
No, you make a good point. Listen, the Giant organization, you know them as well as anyone. You've lived here your whole life. They technically, not technically, they historically don't do the stopgaps.
Yeah.
They really had some pretty been blessed with some pretty strong consistency under center for the last 30 years.
Sure. They've been spoiled.
They had that. They've been spoiled. They've been spoiled. So we'll see what happens. And all this drama about you don't know what you have with Eli until he leaves. I think the Giant fan has it.
Pretty much in check.
I think so. The guy's never been booed. There was a massive groundswell last year with that whole marketing fiasco with the streak. Everybody, don't give me that nonsense because that's nonsense. But that doesn't mean that you're just going to sit here and watch the team go 4-12 for 3 straight years. So every dog has its day, and the bell rings for everyone.
It was also
so
a big story this week.
Yeah.
That if you're a Jet fan and you get pulled over for DWI,
yes.
you have a built-in.
We're up against
now.
the break, but we should talk about that.
The Jets suck so much that I got to get drunk and I got to get behind the wheel, so therefore I cannot be charged with DWI in the state of New Jersey because the Jets suck.
Now be honest, when I sent you the story, did you call the guy? Did you offer your services? Did you offer your services?
I feel bad for the guy. He needs jet therapy, man.
A woman I work with she was at the Jets game. A guy threw up on her at the game. How bad is that?
Jet fans have a bad reputation.
Oh, that's terrible. I don't go to the games anymore for that
No?
reason. Stop becoming a fan. Yeah. Stop.
But you thought the PSLs would have cleaned some of that up.
No, those PSLs didn't trade for enough.
No?
No, but that just means the people who bought them can't wait to sell the tickets. All right, and that's the truth, because you're talking to a guy right now who does that. All right, we're up against the 10 o'clock break. We'll get these guys on the horn, and we'll be back in a few. Mazza Radio.
The digital delight of jazz.
I love that Abraham Lincoln line. I love that Abraham Lincoln line. Joe, I love that line.
What was that?
Besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? I love that line. That is one of the best lines. That is so obnoxious.
If he doesn't get shot, does Miss Lincoln still likes to play?
You never heard that?
No.
Whenever someone says, well, just forget about that,
it's like
don't bring up the fact that I crashed the car. And you're like, what? Besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? You never heard that?
No.
It's one of the greatest trading deaths. Someone will be like, well, if I didn't lose $1 million that month, I would have had a good year. What?
Is there something else you're searching